How did we afford this?
Because our first YouTube paycheck was like 40 bucks.
What happened to all your cats?
I think about those cats all the time. Breaks my heart.
When are we gonna show the baby's face? The baby, the baby, the baby, the baby. Why did we leave boat life?
We went to Just Catamarans. We said, hey, let's get a catamaran.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's been a long time coming. We've been putting this off for a while because, you know, there's a lot of subjects we haven't talked about. So we are jumping right into a Q&A. We have a lot of new people over on our channel and we need to share the story of GB.
Man, there's just mass confusion. We did what you're not supposed to do in life, as we very often do. We're just rule breakers, I guess. You're in YouTube, you're not supposed to change what you do. You're supposed to do one thing forever, no matter what. You can't really change your niche. Nobody does it. Nobody's successful doing it. We went from being a successful sailing channel to a successful off-grid channel to now we're rehabbing. We're basically the HGTV of YouTube, fixing this old house up. So yeah, we're ripping all over the place, and people from different sectors of our adventure are coming in saying, wait, what the heck's going on here? Y'all are getting buck wild. So we're here to explain everything, answer all the questions at one time, and bring all the chapters of our journey together.
Let's start it off with, why did you buy the $5,000 wrecked boat? The main thing is we couldn't afford, that was the top of our budget of what we could afford at the time. I was just a waitress. You were teaching MMA classes at a gym, which makes no money. And we saw this boat on Craigslist, which a lot of you have heard this story before. This boat was just seemed right. Matt showed it to me. He went to go look at it, showed on his iPad to me what it looked like, and I said, buy it.
We wanted like the hardcore adventure. If you've watched the channel, I like doing things as hard as can possibly be done at first for the most part. So I was just like, oh, we'll just sail around, we'll figure it out. That's what sailboats are for. It wasn't really about the boat or finding the perfect boat. I think a lot of people get lost in that. There's no such thing as a perfect boat. They're all flawed, as we are. The main thing in life is just to get busy going and figure out as you go, rather than plan and never end up going.
Yeah, we didn't know a lot about boats. It wasn't like we were in there and said, make sure the bilge is dry, make sure this is this, make sure these valves are right. We just went in there and I said, oh, this boat actually has a lot of natural light compared to a lot of small boats that are cheaper, that are dark, and people try to sell their used boats and there's tons of junk. I hate tons of clutter and stuff. If you could see our boat renovation, there's storage for every single thing, so you don't have to have things just hanging out, building up on you.
But the lady that I was buying it from, she said something that really resonated with me, because I was like, oh, what about this? Safety, blah, blah. And she's like, dude, it's floating. If it's floating for me, it'll float for you. Water's gonna treat you the same as the water's treating me. Don't overthink it, keep it simple, stupid. If it keeps the water out, I'd rather go on an imperfect adventure than never go out and have the perfect boat.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick break for me to share something I'm really excited about. Halara sent me some of their active wear, and honestly, the timing couldn't be better. After living on a boat, 2 years off grid in the jungle, and now this full home renovation, I have been needing clothes that keep up with me. These clothes are perfect for so many situations. This SoftlyZero dress is so soft and barely there. It feels like nothing is on your body, like you forget you're wearing it. It has built-in shorts, so you're never thinking about what's showing. You just move and live your life. You still can look really feminine, but nothing's holding you back. The beach, hiking, or even chasing a baby. You can't beat an outfit that you can wear at the beach and go straight to the bar right after. They have so many styles too, from more flirty and fun to more covered up and sporty. Whatever your vibe, there's something for you. One thing I love about Halara, which sets them apart for me, is not only are the prices great, but they also have different lengths. The dresses don't have to be too short, the shorts don't have to be mini, and the pants you can get just the right length. So if you're living an active life like me, or you just want to treat the woman in your life, check out the link in the description below and use my code for a discount. You won't regret it. All right, somebody wanted to know, what did people think when we told them we were gonna leave on the boat? And I think a lot of people were just like pleasantly polite, but I think a lot of them thought this is never gonna work. One, we didn't have any sailing experience really. I mean, Matt did have a sailboat before, but you really didn't know how to sail.
No, I never went offshore. I just stayed in the intercoastal waterway. Yeah. I was inside.
And two, we said we were going to do YouTube, and that will help pay in the lifestyle that we want to do. And I think a lot of people laughed at us for that because we only had like $6,000 of savings, and we said we're going to rip off and we're going to start this YouTube and it's going to go well. Yeah, and we got lucky.
I mean, yeah, we definitely did get lucky, but I think everyone that knew me, I come from pretty humble beginnings, so, and then all my fighter friends know that I'm a savage, so everyone pretty much knew that I'd go for it and get a little crazy, and then if I had to eat ramen noodles along the way, I definitely would be able to. But I think that your family definitely was more like, what the heck's going on here? And your friends were for sure more like, what the heck's going on here? But people didn't really know that you were as adventurous, I think, as you ended up being. You know, you were fine without the air conditioning for 7 years. You were all good with ripping through the scaries. You don't really get scared that easily, so it was pretty simple. People definitely were naysayers for sure though, but that's just part of life no matter what you do. You could literally go say, I'm gonna build a birdhouse, and people will tell you how you can't build a birdhouse because, you know, people take their own fears and they apply them to you. That's just kind of a human nature sort of thing. I learned to ignore that when I was very young. So, you know, we ignored it when we went sailing, and we went and had a great trip. Sailing has this mystique around it that it's this really hard thing to do, and it's actually rather simple. It's just, you know, it's like any other skill. You don't know it, and it's hard, and then you start to learn it, and it gets easier and easier, and you become more and more acclimated to uncomfortable situations. But people that have done it, you know, they act like it's this really hard, like, rite of passage, and it's so difficult when really it's the easiest thing on earth.
I wouldn't say that. But
sailing in principle hasn't changed much in like thousands of years. It's like farming. You know, farming is hard in some ways, but it's not something that can't be learned. And, you know, anyone can do it. Or, you know, if there's pilots out there. There's people that fly planes and work on people's brains and stuff like that. So when you think about the world in that through that lens, sailing's pretty simple. You put the sail out, you pull a rope, you turn the little round thing, or you move the stick back and forth, and eventually you trot on over. You're gonna go 5 to 10 miles per hour, so nothing that bad's gonna happen at 5 miles an hour.
Next question was, what was the scariest thing that happened on our boat life journey? And there was some scary moments. I'm trying to think back. I think what should have been the scariest moment, and then what I was actually scared of was two different things. What should have been the scariest moment was when we ended up in Cuba when we didn't plan on it. It was, Matt tried to make his own track to the Bahamas, not the typical track that everyone else does. He wanted to do his own, what would you call, plotting on the map, and we didn't know anything, so that was a very dangerous thing that we did. And at one night the boat was the waves, you explain what happened.
I didn't really know what I was doing, and I got like obsessed with this place called the Quesal Bank, which is like this shoal in between Florida, Cuba, and the Bahamas. It's like right in the middle, and it's like thousands of feet of water, and then there's this little shoal that goes up to where it's like, you know, there's little keys there, and then it's like 40 feet. So if the weather goes bad, it can be a pretty violent place to be. But I got obsessed and I wanted to go see that place because, you know, you don't see a lot of people doing it. So that was what the journey was about for me, getting off the beaten path. I paid all this money for Predict Wind, and Predict Wind gives you a 7-day wind forecast. So I was like, oh, this will be perfect, blah, blah, blah. It's a 500-mile trip. So we get 3 days into it, and then the weather changes, and it's blowing like 40 knots. We're like maybe 30, 40 miles north of Cuba, which the north coast of Cuba can get a little crazy. There's a lot of converging currents and things like that. We were getting blown around. I wasn't really scared. I was more like annoyed. But we were having a fun trip. But yeah, we got blown to Cuba, and then we got blown back to Key West.
Yeah, but that night, the bad night.
Oh no, yeah.
What happened?
The rain was coming in sideways through.
We couldn't sail. We didn't know what was happening, so we had to put the sails down, right?
It was just blowing way too hard.
And so once the sails are down, the boat was going like this.
Yeah, it was a lot of lack of sleep. It was our first offshore passage, so sleeping, we weren't getting a ton of sleep. I was awake for like 3 days straight, basically, and then we hit this 40-mile-an-hour weather, and we didn't have we had a hank-on head sail, which is like it clips on, so your whole sail's out.
Clipped on by backpack.
Yeah, you couldn't really. It wasn't easy to furl, so we had very little sail out, so the boat was really rocking out there. It was crazy, and I told Chris, and I said, "Look, the boat's just gonna rock. I'm gonna pass out for like 3 hours." Keep looking out the top for like ships coming our way, shipping container ships. And I said, I just have to pass out and then we'll tear it up on the rest of the way, going. And then didn't we have to like climb the mast in the middle of the ocean there? Things just kept breaking. It was a rough trip. The weather, I didn't know, now I know that you can't get a 7-day weather window for wind. You get maximum 2, but that still wasn't that scary. At the end of the day, we were laughing. When you were making fun of me, you were like, do I got to call the Coast Guard out here?
He was like down in the cockpit and it was raining on him and he was just
Well, it wasn't raining on me. It was raining sideways through the cockpit. The water was going perfectly horizontal. So I was under I took one of our chairs and I put it over the cockpit seats and I was under just trying to stay out of the rain. And Kristen was like, are you down there crying? And I was like, wait, what?
I had to hold on to Bear and I was sitting in the saloon. I had my arms stiff against the mast holding Bear because the boat went so crazy. It was all I could do I had to hold the cat to stabilize the cat because the cat was flopping everywhere. So I had to hold the cat and sit there for hours until eventually it was like morning, right?
Yeah, eventually in the morning we got up, I fixed the sails and then I slept for like another hour and Kristen sailed pretty much to Havana. She was just ripping down the waves. And we got some sleep. We went there. Illegal.
Those were the biggest waves we've ever been into. So basically that trip was our first trip offshore and it was the most dangerous, the craziest, biggest waves, everything. We thought that was normal because it was our first trip. And then never again at any time did we ever have waves where we were completely sliding down them. I thought that was normal. I wasn't scared at all. That's probably why it wasn't that scary at the time.
That was sick. The scariest part for me sailing was being within a 20-foot proximity of this crazy wild woman for 7 years straight. That was the scariest thing for me. But yeah, we never really got scared, to be honest. That's another thing. Everyone acts like, oh, so scary. The Coast Guard will come get you. You're generally on that trip, if you're sailing anywhere near Florida or Cuba or anywhere really in the Caribbean, you're 10 minutes away from a shipping vessel. They'll literally pull right up to you, throw a rope over. When you go from California to Hawaii, there's 1,000 shipping boats. You're never more than like 5 miles away from a shipping boat.
Yeah, the scariest time for me
You're not alone out there.
Was more like snorkeling with sharks.
Yeah, she was scared.
There was
of
a
sharks.
shark that chased me one time. It was a nurse shark and it was like a medium size. It wasn't huge, but it chased me. And I took my, what do you call it? I can't think of what they're called now. I took my fins and I was on my back trying to get away from it as it was not biting. I'm not going to be dramatic, but it did actually follow me and was chasing me and Matt was nowhere in sight. I don't remember what you were doing, but yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. There never really was too many scary parts, but we just don't really get scared. We don't get scared that easily, but yeah, I don't know. People parking their boat next to you.
Crashing our boat's scary.
Yeah, the people parking their boat next to you is more scary because there's like a financial burden of like some idiot crashing into you, I guess. But I don't know. Nothing was really too scary.
The next question is, why did we leave boat life to move on to our off-grid property?
Yeah, why?
Well, I wanted to stay on the boat for a while. I really like traveling. I wanted to see what's at the next island, I love that. It's a lot of fun for me. But Matt was getting, I would say, tired of traveling and he had another dream and he was ready to go and investigate the new dream. So that's what we decided to do.
Yeah, the further and further we were going into sailing was just bottlenecking into more and more crowded anchorages, and I wasn't at all interested in that. Finding these wild places is a little bit harder these days. So yeah, I wasn't really looking forward to going further into the Caribbean, and South America doesn't really hold much interest for me. I didn't want to go to the Mediterranean, and I could do the Pacific. There's some interest there, but realistically, I was just like, I want to do some farming. I want to live back on land for a little while and do some land adventures, do some different stuff.
Yeah, the main reason we went on the boat trips, we had 2 different journeys in our mind. My whole reason for going on the boat was a fun adventure, I start the YouTube, and I get to travel and hit all these bucket list things. I want to see dolphins. It'd be great to see whales. I want to see an octopus. I want to see all these animals. And then I also wanted to, you know, do the diving that you see all over Instagram and all over Facebook, all those things. And I wanted to go to these islands, the Grotto in the Bahamas. Then you go to Soggy Dollar, and I wanted to do all those, and I wanted to keep going and hitting all those spots. So that's why I wanted, but Matt had a different journey that he had in mind.
I just like surfing and, you know, being out in like some wild spots, being like a little more self-sufficient, relying on your own self, and, you know, learning kind of what you're made of out there all alone. You know,
and being more alone.
Yeah, pseudo all alone. I don't like to be around a million people and then kind of with my own thoughts and looking at the world and letting the world look back at you. I'm not a super social guy. A lot of people.
That's a lie. He is very social.
I'm social, but like with a very small select group of people. I don't, you know.
He likes to be around people, but in the boat life, he likes to have more of an outdoor, alone journey.
Yeah. I don't like being at like crowded tourist destinations. Being in the Bahamas and the Grotto, it's just like a line of people, you know.
It's not what you see, the nature that you see in photos. It's more like a tourist
there's a
trap. You have to wait in line to do things. It's not like...
and then every interaction you have is like a little less, like it's not like a genuine one, really. It's when you're cruising, it's either someone trying to like get money off you for some reason, or like, I don't know. It's just, I found myself having like the same conversation over and over and over and over again, and it just got pretty boring. But I thought that like every sailor was going to be like someone trying to break the mold, and realistically, most travelers are just trying to fit into the mold of a traveler. They all do the same exact thing, talk about the exact same crap with the exact same perspectives. So it's like kind of just weird at that point. But yeah, we had different adventures. As long as Kristen kept it pumping, she was a destination gal. I was the journey guy. I'm you know, people say it's not the destination, it's the journey. For Kristen, it's definitely the destination.
I like the journey too, but I like to hit my spots that I want to go to.
Yeah, for me, it's the getting there.
All right, now that we're in the off-grid life chapter, we bought and purchased a property in the middle of Puerto Rico with our own money, our own cash. And how did we find this property?
I was on a surf trip with my dog Kiki Montalvo, and I drove through this town. He took me on this weird route, like through the mountains, and I drove through this town, and it was so beautiful. It just, you know, my soul screamed. And when your soul does that, you have to listen to it. And I said, this place is really, really cool. Like, it'd be really cool to like own a little beautiful property out here. It's like Jurassic Park. So I started looking up history around the town and, you know, listings and stuff like that. And the property at the time was, you know, pretty affordable.
Yeah, and when we went to it, we knew it was the one. I tried to backstep a little bit. I was like, I don't know. But then when I thought it sold, the realtor kind of made it sound like it almost sold. Then I was like, oh no. So then that's how I knew.
Yeah, we went there to look at the property, and we had to walk through the woods, and a hawk came and landed on my shoulder.
It did not.
It didn't land on our shoulder, but we were looking at these 2 turtles in the river, and then the hawk did fly by and go, and we were like, whoa, this is crazy nature. And we said, we're gonna go ahead and purchase it.
So a lot of questions I've seen floating around. How did we afford this? How did you have enough money? How do you have enough money to do anything you do? So real quick, we'll go over it. Clearly, we only had $6,000 savings when we went on the boat. Matt, we did sail from where we lived, and we went to Key West, and at that point we were pretty much out of money, so we didn't go very far and $6,000 was gone. Anyways, Matt decided to get a job while I tried to work on the YouTube to start it going, and I talked him into doing a bartender server job so he can make quick cash. He made $10,000. That was our goal. I said, you don't have to do it longer than you have to make $10,000, and so it took, what, 3 months?
Maybe like 3 or 4. You know, when you do live on a boat, that's one of the advantages. You don't have many bills. Everyone says boat, bust out another 1,000. But, you know, when you have a mortgage, you're busting out 1,000 every 3 weeks. So if you spend, let's just say a mortgage in the US is $2,000. If you spend $2,000 every 30 days on a boat, you're gonna have a really nice boat in about 2 years. So that boat bust out another 1,000 thing is kind of silly. It's just one of those stupid things that stupid people say. But,
We've said it before.
And as a joke, though, as I heard, bro, bust out another 1,000.
I don't know. You can spend a lot on a boat.
We made money from doing YouTube. When you don't have any bills, even making the littlest amount of money, you know, we set our goals reasonable at the beginning. That's why we set $10,000. We said, you know, we can really budget, and you can live on a boat for $1,000 a month, 2 people, if you want to get, you know, nitty gritty. And then I think by the time we hit the Dominican Republic, what were we making, like $1,000 a month?
Our very first year on YouTube, we only made
like $9,000.
$9,000.
But we made like
which is still decent.
Yeah, but we were making like $400 for the first 5 months. Though I think we made like 1,000. We made $9,000, $8,000 in the last 6 months though. It started crescendoing because our first YouTube paycheck was like $40 or something like that, like $100. So for the first several months, we weren't making anything and we were blowing money, you know, still spending it.
To quickly go over our bills, we didn't have rent, so we didn't have that. We didn't have a water bill. We didn't have electricity. We shared one phone bill because we're always together. It's not like I go off to work and I need my phone to call. So we had one phone bill that was like, what, $50? It was Google Fi. It was only $50 a month. And then you have your food and whatever, if you want to drink booze or your entertainment, which a lot of times your entertainment is free. Snorkeling, free. Like, we watch TV on our phone, so we probably had Netflix.
YouTube, Netflix, you go to the bar, you look around, you know, the Dominican was fairly inexpensive if you wanted to do booze. The Bahamas, it's really expensive to drink, and food is very expensive in the Bahamas, but there's tons of fish and wildlife and conch to eat in the Bahamas.
You can get your own groceries from the ocean, so you can save up a lot of money. But ways we do make money moving forward is obviously the ads in the videos, the sponsorships that people put in the middle of the videos. You make pretty decent money from those. And then we had a Patreon. We had people that were supporting some stuff.
Yeah, thank God for that. In the beginning, you know, that was very important. But the two kind of walk hand in hand though. As you grow more popular, your Patreon grows as well. So like when you really start making a significant income on Patreon, you're already probably making a significant income on...
Remember our first Patreon? We had one Patreon. I think it was our first Patreon. He signed up and we got so excited. I think it was in QS, and didn't he just not pay?
I don't think he ever paid ever.
I think he just declined. It was such a bummer.
Just kept declining. We were like, oh, you hate us.
We were so excited. But anyways, so we saved up a lot of money living that cheap life. Like, I would love to make a online course to help people do this, because I know there's a lot of small channels out there that struggle to get their YouTube started, to learn how to get sponsorships, to do all that. It could be a really beneficial, I think, course. So if you think that's something cool that you might want to see, make sure you leave a comment down below. And maybe we can do that one day. That would be really cool and helpful for
and also we had no kids and no debt. So we were kind of on easy mode for how hard we wanted to rough it. Realistically, we could rough it very hard if we had
no kids, you can rough it pretty hard.
No debt, no kids, easy breezy, you know.
So that's how we were able to afford buying the land. All right, and here's one of the biggest questions. What happened to all your cats that you have on the property? And I've been seeing this from video to video to video to video, and people really want to know. I've
answered a few times to like individual questions. I try to avoid it because it makes me sad, it breaks my heart. But with the animals all together on the property, we rehomed the livestock. We had a guy that adopted our goat family, and they're still making babies.
He didn't eat them.
He did not eat them. This guy had a goat, like he'll let the goat in the house. He loves these goats. He's like you know, even me, as much as I like to crash, I couldn't have a goat in the house. They do not control their bowels. They are not trainable like a dog. And they're just, overall goats are pretty awful. But yeah, the goats, the chickens were rehomed to a farm. And then as far as the cats went, the cats were always, from the very beginning, from the inception of the cats, there was way too many to ever just say, I'm just gonna have 9 to 10 cats. They were all TNR cats. Some of them were relatively wild. We had 3 or 4 that were like skittish, that you couldn't really touch. Even when we left for a few months to have the baby, it took a few weeks after we got back for those cats to even start coming around again. So they were kind of like feral cats. There was a couple that were, or there was one that you couldn't even get.
Hoobie, we never really petted him. We gave him feral. One bath somehow. We caught him and he screamed. It was a whole
yeah, so the most humane thing that we could do when we were just being overwhelmed with all these kittens being dropped off on the property every day is we were TNR cats. It's a trap, neuter, release. That's a thing that they do here in the States where they catch the feral cats, they just neuter them so that it's just not a breeding farm. So that's what we did. A couple of the cats did get a little more attached to us. You had Joey and Fat Boy. They were very close, and those were adopted by a family just up the street. 2 little girls were playing with Joey. You know, he was the cuddle bug, and then Fat Boy, obviously everyone loves him. But you know, Biddy, Crazy Boy, all them, they kind of just, you know, they'll run up on people's houses and eat their food and stuff, but they're kind of wild cats. They're not really, you know, maintainable. So I think about those cats all the time. Breaks my heart. I love those cats. That was like the happiest time of my life, being around all those animals and trying to help them out. But yeah, I mean, never in my life was I going to make a 20-year investment into 9 feral cats in the Puerto Rican jungle. We still have Bear, of course. That's our ride or die. That's our cat that we've had, you know, for creeping up on 2 decades now.
That stays in our house.
So yeah, we still have Bear, but yeah, the animals that we encountered in Puerto Rico, we just did our best to help them with their lives, and then did our best to rehome them as we went. And luckily, that was very successful for all the cats involved. But I can assure you, in the 9 months that we've been gone, there's been 75 more litters of cats, and that was one of the most depressing things. That was basically the one of 2 negatives about living on the land. There was just it was sad to watch all the cats get born and then ran over on the side of the road, or you had to adopt them. And trust me,
people throwing them out the car windows.
Yeah, just they'd pull up with like a bag, like a dog food bag, and just dump them out the side.
Cats.
Yeah, which is, you know, I understand it's not a super wealthy area. So, you know, no one wants more mouths to feed, but it's a sad thing. Yeah, so that's it. Rehomed, and then some are still loose.
Let's get into the hard-hitting questions that a lot of people asked on our Instagram or Facebook. One was, what happened, what's going on with the property, what's going on with your boat now? We put both of them up for sale, and we linked our realtor, we linked the listing for the boat, and we've had a lot of people go look, and we haven't sold it yet. So it's still up for sale, and every day we feel like, is that a sign that we should go back?
Well, no, I'd love to go back when the baby gets a little bit older. That's the thing, the universe will speak to you if you have the courage to listen. I'm not in a hurry to sell the property. I love it. It's, you know, one of my favorite places on this entire planet, and I've been to a lot of places. You know, I'd like to be back out there developing it. Obviously, the baby takes precedent at this point of the life, so I don't want a 1-year-old on a boat. I don't want a 1-year-old in the middle of the jungle with giant tarantulas. You know, I'm a little bit psychotic when it comes to taking care of the baby. I definitely have OCD when it comes to the protection of sweet little baby. And there was a tarantula in our house one time.
In the RV.
And I had to suck it up with a vacuum. I don't really like killing tarantulas, but when it comes to your baby, you'll knife something up real quick. So, you know, I had to suck it up with a vacuum, and I was like, gotta get out of here. So, you know, one day I'd love to return to it, but right now that's just not really feasible.
Yeah, we would like to, maybe if we don't sell it, that we possibly could make Airbnbs, and maybe you guys could stay at them if you'd be interested.
Yeah, I mean, I want to
check out the waterfalls, the land. It's just very great nature there.
Yeah, and the country, the island, it's amazing. Puerto Rico is like the best place in the world that I've visited. I love it there. Some of the best people I've met on earth are my Puerto Rican people that I've met there. Salchicha Isa, Jesus over there in Fajardo, all my dogs, some of my favorite people on the planet I've ever met. I want a little vacation home there. I still want to be working on my Spanish, and there's too many different kind of Spanishes in Florida. So I'd be trying to practice, but there's Guatemalans, there's Mexicans, Hondurans, Peruvians, there's too many Colombians. So I try to speak my Puerto Rican slang, and they're like, dude, don't even say habichuelas over here. I got people, they're on that frijoles. I love there. I'd love to be back there, but I got to get the baby a little bit bigger so that she can run up and down those slippery, muddy mountains. And same thing with the boat. So yeah, neither one has sold yet, but my heart's not broken over that. I personally would keep them both forever, or just, always have that option.
Hurricane season is coming though, and we're gonna have to do something with the boat. So that is coming. I don't know if I'm done with boat life, but I would need a lot bigger of a boat if we have a family on there. And to get a bigger boat, you need, a lot of money.
Yeah, so that's what
I don't think we're quite there yet.
Well, that's what the house journey is about. If you look at all the big channels, they all had a house first. We went the other way. We bought the boat, then the house. If I can work hard for the next 5 years, build some equity, I'm gonna use that term like I know exactly how all this real estate stuff works. But once you have the money and you have an asset that has value, then you can get a bigger boat. As my family grows, I'm gonna need a catamaran. We thought we were big dogs when we were first making money on YouTube. We went to just catamarans. We said, hey, let's get a catamaran. He said, yeah, you'd need like $300,000 to come to the table to even get a loan for that boat. And I said, oh man, that's crazy. I don't got $300,000.
Yeah, we're not that rich, so we can't afford a catamaran.
I thought it was like a car.
The truth is, we don't have enough money.
I thought you could put 20% down and then be like, yeah, let's go. And they were like, no, you can't put 20% down, little boy. And I said, God, I'm never gonna get a catamaran. So we gotta play the game like everyone else. If I want a boat that I can go around the world on with multi-hulls, because we want the baby sleeping on one side and us sleeping on the other side, you're going to need a little floating condo, a little floating island. So, I'm not against adventure. I'd love to be taking my kid out to see all the amazing things that I've seen in the diversity of cultures and, learning all that cool stuff. But, unfortunately, you got to have the bread for that. Unless a hurricane comes by and flips over $1 million boat, and then you just pull it out of the mangroves and, do it that way. Some crazy mofos in Grenada doing that right now. But yeah, even that's still a 6-figure venture, I'm sure, by the time that's all said and done. So it's catamarans are expensive, and but hopefully worth it.
One more question that we're going to touch on that we've seen a lot of people, mainly women. I'm going to say mainly women. Women. When are we going to show the baby's face? Are we going to show the baby's name? The baby. The baby is doing great. She is a beautiful, healthy, beautiful child. We are keeping her private. It's just what we feel is best for our life and our situation. There's plenty of people that put their kids on the internet. We are not one of them.
Listen, guys, you've all seen a baby, okay? She stinks. She's cute. She cries. She giggles.
Don't rub it in how cute she is.
She is the cutest. But yeah, you've all seen a baby. It's just one of those things of...
That's not helping, man. People want to see our baby.
The baby doesn't get to consent. The baby is my child, but she's not my property. If she could say, yeah, Dad, I don't mind, put me on the videos, I'd say, okay, yeah, let's do it. But she doesn't get to choose. She might grow up and be 18 years old and be like, yeah, I hated that. I hate that I go to the store and someone says, oh, hey, and walks up to me, and she might not like that. So therefore, until she can make a choice, we're just going to leave her autonomy to herself, and she can be...
Yeah, plus the thing is with now and today, back in the day, it was a little different on the internet. Now today in the internet, there's too much danger, too much AI,
too many diddlers hiding in the Roblox chat rooms trying to holler at my niece, So
there's too much bad stuff that happens, and to us, we're not out here to make content of our child to try to make money. It's just not our vibe.
No, not that, I'm judging anyone that would do that, but at the end of the day, yeah, as a kid, as a parent,
This is our job, so.
Yeah, I'm super protective. I'm like neurotic with the baby. I didn't even let my own mom hold the baby for like a while. I was checking people at the door. I was like, don't touch my kid. You got a runny nose? Wrong. So like no one, I didn't even let Bear come near the baby for a long time. I may be a little bit overzealous with that and I could be wrong, but I don't care. I'll hurt anyone's feelings too. I don't care if I break your heart. If it saves my kid a runny nose, that's fine. I don't even hesitate for even 1 second. My best homie that I saved with the kidney, he's like, when do I get to come see her? I'm like, you don't get to see her. You're dirt McGirt. You don't even get to breathe next to my child, bro. Like, stay over there.
That's rude.
Sorry. I love you and I'm glad we got you a kidney. Listen, I live my life simply. It's a no-fly zone. You establish a rule and then that's it. We don't bend, but we bend a little bit. We're learning. You know, I'm learning that you got to bend a little bit. With family, I'll let her mom hold the baby. I'll let her dad hold the baby. My mom can hold the baby now, but as far as all my snot-nosed nieces and nephews, they can stay.
Yeah, so don't take it personally. I know you want to see people's babies that you watch. It's part of the journey, but for us personally, we're just keeping her safety.
At the end of the day, worry about your own kids. Go throw the ball in the front yard with your own youngin'. Worry about mine.
Anyways, okay, well, that's pretty much the journey. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments. We'll answer as many as we can. This life has been a crazy adventure and we're just gonna keep it going. We don't know. You never know what's gonna be ahead. 2 years ago when we were at that off-grid property, do you think we thought we were gonna be in Florida renovating a house? No, we didn't.
It happened like that.
Everything happened like that. Married, baby, now we're in Florida renovating a house. Things can happen crazy. So
I could be in Japan in 5 years. We might just be living in Japan being Japanese. I might do another fight.
You can't just be Japanese.
I might do another fight. I'm back in the hood now. And you know, there's some guys that used to call me out back in the day. I'm back in my neighborhood. So if you guys would like to be interested to see me come out of retirement and fight one of my old foes, I'll do a pay-per-view. I'll do a pay-per-view for y'all. So if y'all want to do it, I'll come out of retirement, but I got to make at least a little bit of money. I got to own the whole thing. So if y'all want to see me fight again, let me know. And I'll call out my nemesis, my oldest nemesis from back in the day.
Anyways, I don't know about that, but
he tried to flirt with Kristen back in the day when we was all young. Kristen
I don't know if that's true.
Kristen said, "Oh, this guy was flirting with me."
I did not say that.
And he said, "You can't even fight good." And I was like, "What?" So, if you want to see it, comment pay-per-view in the comments below and we can set it up.
Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Check out our Patreon for real-time updates. I might post one of your old fights on Patreon. So, if you want to actually see one of Matt's old fights, check it out on Patreon. And we will see you guys next week. Oh yeah, and hit subscribe if you haven't hit subscribed yet. Bye.